There's the song. I accidentally paused the song. Hey, everybody, welcome. Alrighty, this is the Stephen D. Kelly Show. It is Thursday. It is 7:01 where I'm sitting here in California. Still light out. Had to cover the bird anyway, so you get the benefit of that. I'm going to turn off my Skype thing so I'm not staring at the kitty. But basically, tonight I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant, and I'm going to talk about this flag issue and this issue with the national anthem, if you will. Okay. Now, I don't, you know me, I don't really prepare for these things. Obviously, this is not something you're going to prepare for. This is mainly my opinion, and I'm going to try to invoke that upon people and try to explain how they're being used and how these things really work. But again, of course, I'm going to use it from my perspective, and I have a lot of very old-fashioned ideas, certainly, about these things. I like to consider myself a patriot, an American, and a constitutionalist, and all of these good things. And that's certainly going to be the way it works, because that's where I come from. But at the same time, I do also endeavor to serve mankind, and I endeavor to solve the problems of the world and what have you. But tonight I'm going to be addressing an issue that is from an American standpoint, and I'm also going to try to address this issue from a higher level of consciousness standpoint. And I see that this the way things are, when you pick a subject for content for a show like this, you have to basically you have to be relatively spontaneous. And the thing that's funny is that even though I pretty much did this at the last second, at the same time, you still have a developments as we speak, so to speak. With the children in the schools and people emulating these sports characters that are being at the center of this particular issue. But let me see. I'm going to do my best to be coherent here, but this is not a tribal issue, and this is not a historical issue representing crimes. Now, I'll start off by saying this. A flag is just a symbol. Yes, it's a symbol, but it's also a physical symbol, and it's also a representation, but it's also a holder of intention. And I'm going to suggest that when this country was formed, right or wrong, or however you feel about that, the people that were at the heart of this endeavor had certain intentions, noble intentions, and they use this symbol to represent these noble intentions. And as a crystal, or as a magical icon, if you will, these emblems, these symbols, these hold our intentions. It's like Jay was speaking earlier. We have our preconceived notions of reality and what have you, and so there is a certain amount of energy imbued, and there's a certain amount of power in these symbols and the use of these symbols. Now, that being said, I'm going to suggest that when the United States was formed, in spite of its Masonic roots, with the leaders obviously being Masonic, and in spite of the persecution of the Indians and the various religious people and what have you, there's a very good, strong chance that there was actually a very good amount of positive intentions associated with all of this. And I suspect that that God may have actually been on our side somewhat, to a large degree. So, and I'm not saying this is a matter of manifest destiny or anything like that, but I do believe, from a standpoint that I believe that this endeavor, this United States endeavor, I think that there is certain biblical and destiny implications that I certainly hold true, and I certainly would like to feel that I have something to do with some of that and be responsible for being able to implement some of these great things that we have to look forward to the future. But the thing is one thing is that we don't really have control over where we're born. It's like you don't have control over where you're born, and you don't have control over who your family is, who your parents are, your nationality, your race, your all of these details. And basically, when you are born into a city or into a country, if you will, or into a family, you're going to stand behind those people. You're going to support those people, and basically, it doesn't matter what they do. You're going to care for those people, and you're going to make sure that you're going to have their back. And to not do that is to be a traitor to your family and to those you love. And it's like having a child. When you have a child, and if you haven't ever had a child, you really can't understand what it's like. But when you have a child, they basically, once that child comes into the world, without even thinking about it, you love that child. You care about that child. It's blood. It's family. You're going to have a certain bond and loyalty to that child, no matter what, and that's intangible, and it's going to be there forever. And the same thing exists in a larger degree for your family, for your country, for your city, your community. And there's nothing wrong with this. This is a healthy thing. The way I feel about my country is the same way, and I don't think this is a matter of like somebody would root for a sporting team or something of this nature. But bottom line is, I still have a certain love of my country, even if it's a physical love, just for the geography and my fellow humans here, the people I've grown up with, the mountains, the beaches, the culture, the lifestyle, all of these things. We like to think that it's the best, and we like to think that we're the envy of everybody else. And I think in this country, certainly we have a lot to be proud of. And again, we also have a lot to be, I'm not going to say ashamed, but we have a lot to perhaps atone for. Now, in the big picture of things, if you're going to look at this in the grand scale from a tribal standpoint, there are only two tribes in the universe: it's the STOs and the STSs. Now, my tribe that I hail from is the STOs. This is the service to others versus the service to self. And the problem is not the country or the flag or anything of this nature. It's the STSs interfering with the work of the STOs. And I think that, sure, there were a lot of STSs involved in the formation of the United States, perhaps, and there was a lot of corruption from the very beginning stages. But I think, ultimately, that it's those of us that serve others are the ones that will survive. It's ours. It's ours to own. Now, if we could say that the dark side has been responsible for corrupting our country, corrupting it economically, corrupting it with bad policy, genocidal policies, racial policies, all of the negative things that we're complaining about today that still leave their scars. I think it's fair to say that those that were responsible for those acts have always been the darkest elements of our society, and these are typically the STSs. Well, basically, that's not our fault. All right, we're going to take it back. If you look at the flag now, you see this gold trim. We know that this is the mark of the Admiralty Court, that the dark side has essentially taken the flag and they have destroyed what it represents. That's not what it represents. we have to own these things. We have to control it, and we have to basically put the meaning into it that we want it to mean. We can't allow them to tell us that it means something other than that. If there are stains of wickedness on our flag, then it behooves us to serve others and to fix that. I believe that there's no wrong in building this country, having a strong country, and using our resourcefulness and our industrialness to actually serve others and fix problems in the world. I believe that within the resources of this country, if we were not being controlled by the dark side, I believe that we could very easily produce the technology and the necessary devices to solve important issues like Fukushima and world hunger and what have you. So, and I do believe that that technology exists today, but I do believe that it is under the control of the dark side in the deepest dungeons below us. Now, as far as the the battle ahead of us, if you are a warrior, if you think that you have a legitimate complaint about something, and you think that basically attacking this symbol is the right path, you're being quite a tool. Because first of all, the symbol has been stolen from you. It's our symbol, not their symbol. If you're going to allow them to take our symbol and use it to represent themselves, that's foolish, because it's our symbol. Now, we are people of builders. We're not destroyers. We're not corrupting forces in the world. We are builders. And if there's an issue that needs to be fixed, as builders, we will fix that issue. We're not going to basically destroy the country in order to fix the issue. We are going to build the country up and make it stronger. And this is what builders do. This is what service to other people do. They build. Service to self, destroy. We give off energy. They take energy. It's really very simple. So if you look at somebody who basically acts like the answer to the problem is to destroy the the culture or the symbols of the culture, then they represent the dark side. That's very simple. So that's not how it's done. If you take this person like this idiot, and I will say that this football player that seems to be at the center of this controversy is an idiot, and I'll outline the reasons why he's an idiot and not a righteous protesting American. He is a complete idiot, and that's just the way it is. But if he really, he says that he has a complaint. He says that he is protesting the several different crimes. Obviously, there's certainly issues that are legitimate that he's protesting, and of course, it's also been revealed that he's married to a young woman who's religious and apparently is Islamic Muslim, and has influenced him to take a stand with respect to her beliefs and cause him to have a conscience that he may not have had before, and have this type of behavior that he might not have had before because of her influence. I think that's very likely that that's exactly what's happening, which would make him even less of a man for not having his ability to make these judgments and these major political stands, and basing his integrity on the qualms and whims of his wife. That's not much of an intellectual, and that's certainly not much of a man. That being said, if he was truly a brave individual, and if he was truly an intellectual and was willing to stand for his beliefs, then he would have used his star power to get in front of the microphone, like I'm doing right here, and articulate into the microphone in great detail what exactly it is that he's upset about. So instead, he took a abstract insult approach towards a ritual or a ceremony, if you will. Now, people say, again, I've heard them say that it's kind of a meme that's floating around the internet, but it goes something like suggesting that the alt-right type person, and I'm going to suggest that they're talking about an alt-right type person, will be very upset when the flag is insulted, and at the same time suggest that that flag represents the evil government that we all oppose. Now, it's very important for everybody to understand that that's not true. First of all, the criminals that are in office, that have gotten into office through whatever means, it's like obviously after 100 years or so of this good 100 years now that's been going on, they've been able to infiltrate almost 100%. And yes, we do see a political class, government bureaucracy that is almost 100% criminal. Very, very few of these people are actually not criminal. And I'd like to think that Ron Paul is a very good example of one that I would certainly suggest is not criminal. But the rest of them obviously are so criminal that we have people like the new head of the Democratic National Committee saying that it's wrong to think there's something wrong with criminal behavior that they think is normal and that they do every day, and that somehow we should get used to this criminal behavior because for them it's normal. Well, this is the truth. It is normal, and we should all be up in arms over this, but it's pathetic that we allow these blatant, monstrous criminals to operate in plain sight of everybody. Obviously, we have people like Hillary Clinton, who's clearly an incredible criminal, and I think there's no doubt about that. Everybody's living in fear, obviously, that they can't do anything about anything. Now, I do suspect, though, that we are really looking at this transition, and I think that if we can hang in there long enough and not allow them to manipulate us into a fake military situation, if you will, then we should be okay. But the the racial issues, of course, tensions are being fanned pretty heavily. The the Black Lives Matter thing seems to be slowing down somewhat, and that's mainly because I think there's the black community in general, a lot of it is falling behind Donald Trump in a very visible way, and the media is having a hard time covering that. So that movement is I don't think that's going anywhere, and I think, of course, the George Soros his money can only go so far. As far as the messages that have been coming out of that group suggesting that there's going to be all sorts of violence if Donald Trump is elected, obviously this is the sort of thing that is just, and I've said this before, that you would think that these people who are handling these people would give them some lessons on psychology and instruct them that that's not how you get people to react in the manner that you want them to react. So anyway, that being said, again, things seem to be going really badly for the dark side, politically and what have you. Yes, we are entering a very dangerous stage, but this polarity issue is certainly something that we need to have a very strong control of. And at the same time, we also have to cherish and nurture and protect institutions that we own that should not be confused with the criminals that are currently basically occupying our federal properties and our state properties and our government buildings and what have you. Again, the bureaucracy has grown and out of control, and certain measures will have to be taken to stifle that. but again, ultimately, it's going to have to be recognized that it really is a battle between these two sides, and this doesn't have anything to do with a turf or a border, and that is, of course, the service to self versus the service to others. So the STOs of the universe are certainly doing battle with the STSs as we speak. We know this is really what's going on above us in these secret space paddles and the secret space fleet and all of this fun stuff that some people like to talk about. But here on the surface, we certainly have a lot of work to do, and I believe that if we do work together and we do prevent them from provoking us into some weak racial fighting that's going to cause or allow them to have some sort of martial law type of a scenario, then yes, this is going to be a problem. And of course, the Donald Trump situation, it really does look like he is going to take the whole darn thing and win it by a ridiculous landslide. May be the first person to actually take every single state, and that just seems like something you don't want to consider. Well, it's just something you might want to start thinking about. But regardless, we know that the powers that be are just going to have a real hard time handing the keys to the White House over to Donald Trump. Very similar to what's going on in Britain with Brexit. The powers that be, the EU and what have you, dark side, they are doing everything they can right now to suggest that the people who voted for Brexit or really don't know what they wanted, and they really wanted something else, and they're trying to drag their feet and stall. Again, they need to move as quick as possible. And before I go any further, I just want to remind everybody, oh my God, Gary Johnson, what a complete fool. What's Aleppo? This, when I hear stuff like that, and I think that there may either be, that the candidates and some of these people that are making these great decisions are really that stupid, it just makes me wonder. And that's why I put a little more value in these plans that I come up with. But either way, back to the flag. Again, this is our country. It's our duty, and it behooves us to fix it. This is our family. This is our turf. This is our little tribe. Whatever. We were born here. If we were born here, then we have a certain love for it. Now, if you come here and we're not born here, and you do not have a certain love for it, then you really don't need to be here, because there's a big difference. And if you want to, the best thing to do is look at this as a family. If you have children, if you have extended family, blood relatives, people that you're related to, that you've been close to for generations, and that everybody is working together to protect that family, you can be generous, you can serve others, you can do all these things, but obviously the children and the family are going to come first. Devout Christian and someone of the highest level of spirituality certainly is going to treat every human the same, but it's only human nature to provide for your family, and that is a biological function. And the state or the country or our family of this nation works very much the same way. And in spite of the sins of the past, we are here, and this is our family, and this is our team. And if we want to betray it, then we should not be here. And if you come here and want to betray it, and you come here and want to turn into something else, you should not be here. If you are hurt because this country 200 years ago stole your land and took over your border, that's too bad. It's going to be rebuilt, and it's not going to go back. That's just the way it is. The time is gone. I suppose you could say the same thing about Israel, but technically that is the way it works. If there can be no retribution, you cannot allow. They should have never expelled the people, of course, but there cannot be retribution. There would have to be amnesty. And even if you were to bring those people back in, there would have to be amnesty. But in this situation, it is a family. That's what it is. And you have to protect the family first. And the home is the home of the family. And this is our home. This is our family's home. And the flag is nothing more than a representative of symbol of the heart of the family. And of course, the song is the same thing. And it works very much the same way as the consciousness, or people would say the conscience of the country, but in a way it's very similar because it is a connector. It is a common denominator for the various citizens and family members of this community. And that is what it is, a conscious symbol that ties these people together, and it is actually an energetic connection. And this is what's most important to understand, is that there is an energetic connection. Very much the way all of us connect with our subconscious to the superconscious. This is the same thing that happens with these symbols. Through these symbols, we all connect to the whole, which is all of us, which is the creation that we all work to create. So when we look at the history and we tie all the history, if there's negativity associated with that history, again, as a whole, as a family, we have to correct that by building on it and fixing it and atoning and doing what we can to give. Give. We do not tear down the house to give. We do not slaughter our children or give them off into slavery. We keep our family healthy and strong. But through our ingenuity and our resourcefulness, we create abundance, and from that we give. And that's how we serve. And that's the secret of the United States, and that's what we should be doing. Now, those people that would come here, the trolls, if you will, that hate this country, hate the people, that would like to destroy it, they are the enemy. They are the dark side. They are to be cast out. And I'm sure it's not too hard to identify who those people are. But you would cast them out no sooner than you would cast out someone that came into your home that stole from your family or molested one of your children. You would cast them out. They broke the bond. They violated the family bond. It's the same way with the country. When you consider the military, obviously, you don't consider the acts of the military and the death and why they died. Obviously, we know that the warfare is the tool of the dark side. We know why they caused these wars. But the victims of these wars, and when I say victims, I'm talking in this case about the citizens of our country who are used as tools and ultimately die in these wars. They're still the same as us. They're a part of our family. And as part of our family, it's a loss to our whole. And we have to respect that just as much as we would a loss to ourselves if it was one of our children or one of our brothers or family members. It's no different. We have to honor that. And the same way, if you had a family member, a beloved family member, a child that was a criminal, and they died, you'd still have to honor that child, and because they are your child, and you love them. They're a part of you. And this, of course, applies to our soldiers, and this is why we have respect for them. The same applies to the flag, of course, because it represents them. Now, when 9/11 came along, one of the first things that they did, George Bush did, that was completely wrong, was he reversed the flag. And he had it pointing in the other direction. And he said that this is because the United States moves forward, and a flag on a flagpole is going to go in this direction when the flagpole is moving forward. Now, bottom line is this is some kind of bullshit interpretation, because there's nothing in any sort of flag protocol that says anything of the sort. What it does say is that it's completely wrong and that you're not supposed to do it. It also says some other very clear things regarding the gold trim, and it also says that in peacetime that stripes are actually supposed to go vertically and not horizontally, and that the face is white and the stars are blue. These are all small details, of course, but the bottom line is that, again, the symbol is very powerful. And like all symbols, historically, they can even be associated with magic and occult and what have you. In this case, the flag is certainly being used in a situation like that. Okay, sorry about the eyes. Hang on. Anyway, so if we look at the swastika, we know the swastika is an ancient symbol. We talked about this last week with the Falun Gong and the Falun actually being a swastika. And we know that the Nazis actually reversed the swastika and used a negative version of the symbol, the Falun. And this is what became known as the swastika. And of course, this was a black magic device, if you will, the whole purpose of doing this. Much the same way as what the George Bush did by switching the American flag around for the shoulder patches and what have you of the American soldiers, was to completely bastardize and corrupt what our flag stood for, and to introduce a symbol that basically represented the negativity of and the dark side and that aspect of everything that they were doing. So these are something that are very, very important, because obviously when 9/11 happened, I mean, by this time, of course, I was completely had awakened. I awoke sometime during the, well, of course, it was the time of Ollie North and the Iran-Contras when I woke up, but that was still during George Bush Sr., but this was prior to 9/11. And I was actually waiting for a 9/11 type event to take place, but I still felt pretty secure in my constitutional protections and all of this sort of thing. And when 9/11 happened, certainly that took all that away. Obviously, with the various laws, and I lost the point, but the thing is that after 9/11, the American flag was hijacked, and the false patriotism was hijacked, and the very perpetrators of the heinous act committed against this United States hijacked it. You know, and I'm going to go there. I wasn't really going to go there. If you're listening, Corinne, hi, how you doing? But the other night we had a woman on, Lieutenant Colonel, retired, that was serving in the Pentagon on 9/11, the morning of 9/11, and basically she reported her impression was a jet crashing into the thing. And obviously I did not question her. That was not my job at the time, and I'm not really going to go there too far right now, but I'm just going to say we all know damn well no jet crashed into the Pentagon. It was clearly a cruise missile. Anybody can look at it. There's no film, there's no debris, there's no seat cushions, there's no luggage, there's no bodies scattered everywhere. It doesn't look anything like your basic plane crash, and of course, just from pure physics, we know it could not have happened. Also, Shanksville, obviously there's no plane crashed into the field in Pennsylvania. Anybody can see that. As far as 9/11 is concerned, controlled demolition is controlled demolition, and we all know about the Israeli art students that spent all kinds of time there installing this stuff and the whole 9 yards. The conspiracy is just too darn thick, and there's been horrible, horrible false flags committed against us for a long time now. But that particular incident was, of course, the worst of all of them and the darkest segment of our history, with the murder of Americans for the purposes of satanic objectives. And it's very unfortunate, of course, that a lot of well-meaning, conscientious, patriotic Americans actually believe that Muslims attacked us with box cutters and commandeered aircraft and killed thousands of Americans. It's very, very unfortunate that there are actually people out there that believe that, but unfortunately there's a large, large population of people that do believe that. Now, this is why it's also important for those of us who are Americans and are patriotic Americans, love our country, to be able to demonstrate that and to articulate that in such a way that is meaningful. Because those people out there that are, for the most part, still asleep and cannot comprehend that there are such wicked, dark, evil forces in the world, and that there's actually humans out there that would do such wicked things against their fellow humans. This is something that we may take for granted, but there are a majority of people out there in the world that just cannot comprehend this. And in order for them to basically get past this reality would require a painful process of awakening. And this is something that most people will avoid at all costs. And if they are forced to have to go through it, it can be extremely traumatic and can be disruptive on their lives and their, at the very least, their continued communication with you. So it's very difficult to say these things to people, and those of us that choose to take this path, we have to work really hard to be able to get our message, our truth across to other people without causing them to feel diminished or to trample upon their belief systems. Obviously, this also applies to religion. And now, obviously, I think everybody knows that I'm a Christian and that I love Jesus and that Jesus is my buddy, and that if you come here and tell me that you don't believe in Jesus or that you think that Jesus is representative of a religion that's done wicked things, well, this is very similar to the situation with the flag of the United States, which I also revere, which has also been used in the commission of many crimes against humanity, if you will. Now, again, this is my family, and I feel the same way. However, even though it's your family and your beliefs and your behaviors are going to not change as a result of your love for these family members and your loyalty, that really is irrelevant, because you can still be objective and you can still be aware of the truth and the reality, and you can apply that information to this situation, and you try to be productive. And as again, if a family member does do something wrong or gets in trouble or needs correction, then we do this. We help rehabilitate that person. We don't execute that person. We're going to take them home, and we're going to show them love, and we're going to try to teach them, and we're going to see if we can work out the problem that caused the person to go astray. And the same thing should apply to a country and families of our fellow citizens and in the world in a larger degree. And I don't have a problem with that. So I can't make up for the sins of Columbus. I can't make up for so many of the things that happened here in the United States. But I can also point out that so many of these crimes that did take place were the result of the infiltrators and the people that got involved and came into this country with bad intentions. So I think we all know who those people are, but either way, let me just take it to the Jesus thing. The same applies to the Catholic Church and early Christianity. Certainly, Jesus, and of course I believe Jesus was a real human and actually walked on the earth. But what's important is that the teachings and the institutions, or the lack of institutions, but the belief systems and followings that he left behind were nothing like what we see today, obviously. And the institutionalization and the corruption and the ritualization of the belief system that we see today. Obviously, Christianity is represents a very large portion of the population of the world, and of course, and it may actually be the largest religion on the world as it is right now in its various components. And of course, I don't have a problem with that. I adhere to Christianity, but at the same time, I do recognize that for over 1,000 years now, it's been completely corrupted, and the so-called churches and the organizations that represent this belief system right now are probably beyond redemption, and they certainly don't seem to have any sort of connection to the true message that I think was originally intended. However, there are vestiges of truth in all of the religions. If people were to ask me about them today, I'd say they're like the blind man and the camel. But the point is that it's ludicrous to suggest that somehow the entity is connected in any way whatsoever. And the same thing applies to the flag and these songs. It's really even more funny when you think about it. But to lash out at the Creator, if you will, if you think of it on those terms, but to lash out the Creator and say the Creator is wicked because humans that were alive during the same period of life and relatively close enough to me to impact my life have affected me in a bad way. So certainly the Creator of all creation must be responsible and is therefore evil and wicked and horrible in my opinion. That's so foolish, it's so simplistic, and it's so self-centered, to be honest with you, to suggest that the Creator of all creation is somehow that connected to a minor event taking place in your existence, and to suggest that that event that took place is somehow not even meant to happen and somehow does not have value in the grand scheme of creation. So being a human is not easy when it comes to having to deal with egos. I suspect, though, also that if you look at these people that are having issues with these flags and what have you, again, these are ego issues because they're not looking at the large picture. They are looking at themselves, and they are not having respect for the large picture. They are only trying to have some sort of a contribution. And I'm really not sure exactly how to deal with this, to suggest that, well, personally, it is a form of programming, but at the same time, I think when the family gets together at dinner and says prayers, whatever, and goes through a family ritual, I don't see a negative thing about that. I think that this is strong, and I think it builds a stronger family unit, and I think that people look forward to these things, and I think the same thing applies. And sporting events, of course, obviously are ritual distractions, bread and circus. And if you're going to be involved in participating in such a thing as a spectator, then you're going to agree to the cultural expectations of the fellow fans and the community that you're joining. And that's certainly it's a fake community, but it's a community nonetheless. And by the very same token, you wouldn't go into a sporting event and perhaps do something incredibly disrespectful to the other team and not expect some sort of retribution. But to come into such an event and do the same thing to a ritual that is representative of not just the the local sporting team, but the tribe as a whole is ridiculous. And again, if you think that it's necessary, then there's a couple things that you need to consider. First of all, if you're a fan and you feel it's necessary to walk into that auditorium or whatever and to disrespect the community, you probably should just not go there. And if you are a quarterback and you are choosing to disrespect the standards of the community and the rituals and to disrespect the cultural belief systems held by the community as a whole, you also should not be there. And again, if he feels that sitting there is that's correct, then I suspect that the reality of the situation would be that the owner of the team or the coach would have him removed from the game. Very much the same way as the hockey coach the other day said that anyone that decided to sit during the national anthem would also be sitting out the whole game. From what I understand, this Kaepernick guy was sitting out the whole game anyway. He had fallen down to third string, so if that's the case, it would have been no threat. He would have been sitting out the game anyway. But I think what should have happened is the coach should have probably had a couple of the other players maybe escort him off the field. That would have been the correct behavior. But now now I hear that this is infectious, and he's doing some silly thing where he's doing a Tim Tebow thing with the bent knee. This is, of course, ludicrous, and I see this as an attack on Tim Tebow, of course, and the Christian thing, because obviously Tim Tebow's he'd like to go down on one knee and say a little prayer and give thanks for whatever it was that he was about to do. I am assuming is what he was praying for, but he caught all kinds of flack and got in all sorts of trouble, and the media and the community at large condemned him for this, and he became a poster child of the persecution and double standards associated with people of faith, if you will, in professional sports. So for him to commandeer this maneuver as an act of some sort of a protest is incredibly egregious, and I suspect if there was somebody of any kind of moral standing in the NFL or in that particular franchise, that they would probably do something about this right away, because it's pretty perverse. But I do look at this as the dark side doing this. And again, these are the people who would seek to destroy. These are not people who would seek to build and repair and improve. They do nothing but provide a corrosive, negative influence. So the young person that's sitting there on the bench and trying to influence kids all over the place, that it's somehow hip and politically conscious thing to do to insult the flag, if you will, or the institutions of the community, then yeah, that is a disrespectful to the community, and it certainly is requiring some sort of a response. But again, if you look at the big picture, we are in a country that is incredibly corrupt. We've got a political system where every single one of these people are corrupt. Oh my God! You see Hillary? She coughed up a big green thing of phlegm and spit it into her water glass, and then she goes and drinks out of the same water glass. Oh, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I mean, come on. And people are trying to suggest that was a little toad coming out of her mouth. That was actually some sort of little biblical thing. It was like she was spitting toads up. You never know. I don't think it was a toad. I think it was a big green loogie. He's incredibly disgustingly sick. Goodness gracious. Okay, listen. It's about 7:50 right now, so I've got about 10 minutes before the top of the hour. I'd like some people to join me. I gotta say, Rodrigo, his toe is messed up, and he's having some serious work on his toe, and I think that he's a little upset about that. So hopefully his toe's going to get better. I was going to. There was one person here that was standing by, that was nearby. I think I'm going to give him a call and see if he's nearby. See if he picks up. It's be surprised if he picks it up. I should just say, hey. I should warn him. Oh, that's so rude to do that, but I don't like it when people call without giving me a little bit of warning. Anyway, I did want to, but like I said, if you're ready, if you'd like, call up, give me your opinion. If you want to tell me I'm full of it, I know there's a few people on Facebook that certainly get into this stuff because obviously I'm not done. We have to talk about borders and things like that. But it's 714-598-3125. And you know what I did? I actually spent a little bit of money on the Skype here. But I spent some money on both computers now. So even now, even though I don't think I need it, there's some Skype credit on the server. So maybe that'll help us with our connectivity issues. When it says so-and-so doesn't have credit, yeah. Hopefully if I have enough money on my Skype, I can pay for people who don't have credit. If that's the issue, I don't know. Whatever. I'm new to this. But that's what we do with some of the money that people send us. Oh, I should mention, it's almost break time. Yes, of course, we do need donations. I'll give you a quick report on my back. I did go to the chiropractor here. Was it yesterday? Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. And the pain is quite better, but I have to, it's not horrible, but it still hurts a lot. I have to be really, really careful. I guess when you go that long, when you pinch a nerve and you let it go for a couple days like that, being pinched, it doesn't exactly repair itself right away. If you pinch it and you fix it like the same day, it'll kind of relieve it. But it's like if the hose, it's almost like if you kink a hose and you don't leave it kinked very long, it bends back and opens up real good. But if you kink it and you leave it there for a while, it's going to kind of stay kinked even if you open it up. So that's kind of what's happening to me right now, I think, with my nerve pain. But I did want to give you guys that update because I thought a couple of people might be interested. But oh yeah, and I do want to thank you guys for listening. I think I'll look real quick and see who's listening. Oh, I got a few listeners. Hi guys. Hi chat. What's going on, chat? I do want to remind everybody, yes, we do have a chat, and I know there's more people listening. Well, I don't feel that much better. I have to be careful. I actually still have a big leather belt around my waist. It's a weightlifting belt, kidney belt, whatever you call those things. And that sort of keeps a little pressure on my that area of my back. Hopefully it's going to keep things from popping out quite so quickly. I just got to not pick up anything really heavy. I can't do any weightlifting. I can't pick up 40-pound things of cat litter. Sorry, Mr. Kitten. Anyway, no, but mainly I was just saying that just because obviously if there weren't any donations, I wouldn't have been able to go get my back fixed. And I even was going to mention something like that to the doctor and say something like, yeah, I had to beg to get the money to pay for this. But normal people, I don't think, understand that. In fact, what was it? Even Jay tonight, he kind of found out that I have no money. I just have some tea. But yeah, it is poverty. So the little bit that comes in is very, very helpful, and I'm trying now to keep a little bit in there, just to sit there because I'm setting everything up so that automatic payment system, but give me a little bit of cushion. Such is life. Anyway, but yes, obviously, bottom line, we do need donations. And if just real quick, the donation is to my PayPal that I'm using, and that's StevenKelley 714 @gmail.com. That's Stephen Kelly 714 @gmail.com. And I'm going to mention again, if you do want to talk to me about getting involved with the network in any way whatsoever, or you have some you want to tell me how I'm a horrible person or whatever it is you want to say, you can write to me at my personal email, which is law17gun@aol.com. That's LAW17GUN at AOL.com. Law17gun. Okay? At AOL. I know people go, AOL, yeah, it's really old. Anyway, that's how you send me an email. And if you do send me an email, I'll do my best to get to it and get back to you right away. Oh, I should also mention that, even though I'm in pain and all that, I still do Reiki if people are in need of that. And it's okay if I can't fix myself, but that's kind of the way that stuff works. It's all that serving others thing, I think. But either way, I just want to advise people that if you need that, to let me know. And anything of that esoteric nature, you can contact me, and I will certainly be happy to help you out. Now, I was trying to bring this guy here. His name's Ahmad, and he's going to actually be doing a show here next Tuesday. I don't even know if he's listening. He's green on Skype. I'm going to try to call him one more time, see if I can bring him in here. He's probably not listening. He should be. He wants to be see, this was a test, if you're going to be a good DJ test, to see if you're actually standing by when I try to bring you in on one of these calls. No, doesn't look like it. All right. All right, again, somebody join me and tell me what you think. 714-598-3125. Oh, by the way, there's no show coming up after me. I know that Tony said that he would be listening, but he got something. He's working with some people, taking care of somebody that's having some health issues, and that's preventing him from being able to do this. So anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. But the nice thing is I can stop my show anytime I want. I can go overtime, or I can even have a short show if I want. See, Jay was like, oh, I can't do it. No, seriously though. But again, just to get back to this particular issue with the flag and what have you. Yeah, I am an American. I'm a patriotic American. I drive an American-made car. I take care of family first. That means I'm pro this country. I will drive an American car and give to American workers before I will drive a Japanese vehicle, even if it's a superior vehicle. That's just the way it is. Because you don't do that. You don't, if you're running a company and you're hiring workers and you have family members that are not working, you take care of those family members before you hire some stranger. That's just the way it is. Even if they're more qualified, you don't give the job to someone else when you have your flesh and blood is in need. That's just the way it is. And this is the same thing applies to this country. And those people that would try to tell you otherwise are not of this country. They are of the enemy. They are not family. So anybody that works against that is not family. A wonderful, wonderful example of somebody who does get it, of course, is Vladimir Putin. If you look at Vladimir Putin, he really does love his country and he loves his people. So much so that he does not poison them with GMOs. He does not allow chemtrails. They do not allow microwave ovens just because of all the negative things it does to the body. Here in the United States, we don't have that. We have pharmaceutical companies that are poisoning us with the vaccines and toxic chemicals on a daily basis, and it's all okay because it's all about money. I could go on all day about the horrible, wicked things that they're doing to this country. But again, we don't blame this on the flag. And sure, the government uses this flag to represent the government, but it's not. The government is supposed to represent us, and the flag does represent us. It doesn't represent the government, it represents us. So when the government is supposedly serving under that flag, it's to remind them that they are serving under us, because that flag is us. And if it is tarnished, it is not us that tarnished it. And if it was us that tarnished it, then we will take that offending family member that did the crime, and we will rehabilitate that person and deal with them in a fair way. But we will also treat them like family, because ultimately that's what this is all about. Really? I've only gone an hour. Now, if you look at my presidential platform, of course it has a very nationalistic, American, patriotic type of a bent to it. Of course it does. That's what I am. But at the same time, by removing the dark side, the dark forces, the corruption, if you will, and fixing the issues that were basically causing the problems that were put there by the corruption, then we will be able to repair our home and serve our family. And we will be able to do this in such a way, with such great efficiency, that we will be able to be extremely generous and serve all of humanity at the same time. And there's nothing wrong with this whatsoever. Because right now, if you look at the United States, and we say that the United States is consuming a disproportionate amount of the world's resources to satisfy the consumer characteristics of this particular country, that all may be very well good and true. However, if we were efficient and if we were using these resources to full maximum efficiency, and if we were a service to other society, and we were not compounding this wealth and storing it in a vault someplace so that that energy of that wealth never sees the light of day and never serves another human being, then yes, that would be a problem. But if we can take this energy that is our country, that is our family, our tribe, if we can take it and fix what's wrong with it and serve the world the way we were probably put here on earth in order to do. And I think there's a very strong possibility that, yes, indeed, that is what the United States was created for ultimately, was to not be the police state pariah thug of the world, the pit bull of Israel, but rather to be the beacon of hope and salvation that we all like to think that we are. However, there is a possibility that we can actually do this. Now, if you look back historically, you look at a guy like Nikola Tesla, and of course he came from what would be Yugoslavia, and he went to London and he eventually ended up in New York, I believe, and he became a very, very patriotic American and a fixture of America at a great time of growth in the United States. And his gift, which was a gift to the world, which was a gift of a Serbian mother and a Serbian father, basically, was to illuminate the world and change the entire world. But he did it from the basis of the United States with help of other great Americans like George Westinghouse, such as those. And what he offered with the United States as his base of operation and the generator that would power this offering was nothing less than energy for free for the entire world. And this would have come from the United States. Now, if you're a country and you develop a technology that is capable of essentially lighting up the entire world and bringing the entire world out of darkness and doing it in a fair and equitable way that couldn't be any more fair, that would make us probably the greatest friend the world has ever seen. What country could possibly despise another nation capable of completely changing the entire world for the better with free energy for anybody at anywhere. The ramifications of that alone are incredible because it would have changed the entire power structure as well as the economic structure of the entire planet. Obviously, it would truly have been a golden age of paradise for the entire world. And on top of that, there would be no pollution, no Fukushima, nothing of this at all whatsoever. I think the last time the world saw such a thing was back when the pyramids were working. And I suspect that the pyramid system scattered across the globe actually was a system of etheric power, if you will, just like Tesla was trying to create at Wardenclyffe in New Jersey. So the point being is that a patriotic American working within the system, if you will, to a degree, but who wishes to serve humanity and uses what we like to consider as American ingenuity and resourcefulness to accomplish this, can serve the world and give to humanity as a whole and do great acts that you can be proud of, and yet still at the same time be proud to be a citizen and a family member of an exclusive community, which is our country. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good family to be part of. And there are those that would like to destroy it, that have infiltrated it, that have come in and are doing everything they can to destroy. Those are the destroyers. Those are the corrosive influences. So you know that all of those that would destroy that are the bad guys. Now, I say all the time that I want to tear it all down and build it back up, but what I'm talking about by that is I would remove the demonic part and the satanic part and the service to self part and the greedy part. And I'm not talking about communism and anti-capitalism, but at the same time, the cultural acceptance of greed as acceptable and service to self as acceptable has to change. The world needs to adopt a service to others philosophy in order to progress to the next level, scientifically, realistically, culturally, economically. And all of the models, the economic models and the scientific models and cultural models that we recognize today will not apply in the future because the concept of polarity and the concept of the two sides of the coin living side by side will not continue. Ultimately, the service to other types will separate from the service to self types. This is really what's going on right now. So in the grand scheme of things, I would suggest that the best way to filter this information and the best way to judge, if you will, the actions of those that would influence others is to look at what they're saying and how they're saying it, and whether or not what they're saying has a positive impact, if it's constructive, and if it gives people hope, if it gives them positive energy, if it makes them proud, or if it's designed to generate louche, negative energy, despair, hate, envy, anger. Obviously, all of those energies only serve the dark side and the dark entities. And they are certainly also associated with the most evil, corrupt, corrosive elements of our society, which we should seek to remove. from our family, if you will. Now, I can think of, if I had to go back historically to think of a situation where you had something like this, I would think of Russia. I'm just going to throw this out there as a kind of a fable, if you will. But the country of Russia at one time was another country. It was the Khazarian Empire. That was their family. That was their tribe. That was their country. Now, another tribe came in, mostly Viking-type Scandinavians. And they had superior technology. They had big, long boats that worked really well to get them up and down the rivers. And this allowed them to conquer this empire. It took a long time, but they were eventually able to do it. Now, they established a new empire, the Kiev Rus, and this eventually became what we would call the Russian Empire. Now, the conquered peoples that were still living in those territories were absorbed, obviously, into the new tribe or new family that was created. And they were part of this new family or new tribe for quite a long time. They eventually rose in status to the point to where they were able to become educated and eventually move into positions of authority and leadership and instruction within the tribe that was Russia. And eventually they used these positions to get back at the people who had conquered them so long ago. And they did so from within the system, and they had a revolution, and they corrupted the people around them in order to get away with this. And they performed a massive genocide against those people, of course. Killed quite a few. Horrible, horrible. But the point is that these people never assimilated into the family. And yet the family took them in, even though the family had conquered them almost like a adopted family member. They never achieved this loyalty. They never merged. They never became part of the family. And they worked tirelessly to destroy the family, and they basically were able to. Now, of course, things seem to have turned around, and the groups of that society that were the most subject to the crimes of those traitors seem to have taken back control. And fortunately, they are also using their skills and their abilities to try to help the rest of the world to remove the influences of those very same traitors that seek to destroy their royal family and their culture so many years ago. And as we know, by the current propaganda campaign and the scum that are in our government and that control our media, that these very same traitors, these very same tribes, are working very hard to wipe out the culture and the people, again, of Russia, as well as their Scandinavian, European ancestors. And of course, the weapon that they're using, which they're using here in the United States very effectively also, has to do with the destruction of the borders, the desecration of the cultural tribal symbols, such as our flag and our songs, as well as the flooding of non-family members into the family home. People who do not have loyalty to the family, who have no love for the family, who have no love for the cultures and symbols and rituals of the family, are being brought in. And they are telling the family, they're coming into the family home standing amongst our family members and telling us that we must remove our cultural symbols that represent us and the energy that we hold mutually as a family, such as our flag, our songs, and these things, and our identity, our heroes from the past, and what have you. And this is a good opportunity to mention the purging of the Confederacy from the history of the United States. And why is that? Because this is exactly the same thing. The very same bastards who are trying to tell us that it's okay to disrespect our flag and our national anthem are they also the very same bastards who made us tear down statues and commemorations of Confederate war veterans, and to make it politically incorrect and illegal to display the battle emblem of the Confederacy. And of course, this is all the same thing. This is the same destructive powers of these very same traitorous Khazars in our country, trying to destroy our country and our institutions. This is the same MO, and this is a reoccurring theme, and this has happened again and again. But the point is that right or wrong, what happened in our history of our country, especially in our country between our family members, was a circumstance between family members. Even if the outcome of the American Civil War was to the detriment of freedom and to the detriment of the rights that we should have had, at the same time, the reconciliation that had to take place afterwards is the sort of reconciliation that has to take place between members of family. And as time goes, these wounds have to heal, and they do heal, and time goes away. And this also applies to this whole issue of slavery. I will never suggest that there was ever a reason for there to be slavery, but the same evil Khazarians are the same ones behind all this ultimately. And these Abrahamic aberrations also were very much involved in that. But again, this is not happening anymore. It was stopped. It was actually stopped by the Republicans just to make it historically accurate. And the KKK was actually started by the Democrats. And it's amazing that this is something that's not well known. In fact, even people outside of this country are not aware of that, which is amazing also. That shows you how powerful the propaganda is. But the point is that even though in the outcome of the Civil War, the South lost, and they built monuments to their fallen, and they kept their symbol, they kept their flag as a commemoration of the valor of those soldiers. You have to respect those soldiers because they are members of our family that died. And regardless of whether or not they died fighting each other, they still died. And we mourn the loss of all of these people and respect their memory just as we would any of our own family. And to have anybody come in there into our country and tell us that it is okay to disrespect one of our family members is completely wrong and off base and has no business being in this country. And for somebody to suggest that it's somehow okay to disrespect people who have died like that, I'm sure there are exceptions. For instance, having a picture of or a statue of Christopher Columbus in Latin America is probably incredibly insensitive, and I'm sure there's lots of examples of this. But I think there has to be a certain level of objectiveness, and there has to be historical respect. Another really good example of this, of course, is going on in the Ukraine. And of course, there's a lot of Eastern European countries right now, former Soviet bloc countries, that have quite a few monuments and public works projects that were constructed by the Soviet Union when they were republics of the Soviet Union. Ukraine, of course, is a very big one, and Lithuania and some of these other countries. I know in Lithuania they've got a huge hydroelectric project that was constructed by the Soviets that's monstrous, and obviously that's not something that they would ever tear down out of disrespect. However, by the same token, a lot of these countries have got these monuments that were statues that were built honoring the Soviet Army, of course, at the end of World War II, and now these are being destroyed, defaced, and obviously that shows quite a bit of disrespect. Now, I can't really, that's a very mixed bag of emotions there. This is sort of like pictures or statues of Saddam Hussein that were torn down in Iraq. I think that really was up to the people. I don't think the United States should have been there at all. I don't think we had anything to do with that, but should have had anything to do with that. But again, that's not our family. That's not our tribe. We should have been focusing on our tribe and our family, and if we were doing everything right within our own family and our own tribe, and we had expelled the traitors, I think that we would have such a wealthy situation going on that we would have been able to become hosts to the rest of the world, much the same way of Tesla. So ultimately, I think this is what we need to strive to do. We really need to get back to fixing the problems here in the United States and using this as a means of serving the rest of humanity. Now, when I look at these politicians, and this is probably a good opportunity for me to go in this direction, but I'll just say, obviously Hillary Clinton is a horrible, demonic piece of filth that is probably going to die very soon. However, should for some ungodly reason she actually is allowed to survive long enough to steal the election from Trump, I suspect that things will get really, really horrible. I think that the forces that be right now are really steering us in a direction of positivity. And I suspect that the best case scenario, at least in this country right now, is going to involve Trump getting elected, and then more than likely we're going to have to hope that the dark side does not completely corrupt him or kill him off immediately. We're going to need to manifest much stronger improvements. Obviously, I feel that my presidential platform is probably the only route, and I think that the conquest of the Getty and the repatriation of the gold and the stolen technology, I think this is the only thing that's going to save the world. And I think that if that actually happens, that it will put us in a wealth position and a power position to actually improve the status and the quality of life here in our country, as well as provide for the rest of the people and the rest of the world, and hopefully do it in such a way that we can eradicate the jealousy and possessiveness that would require these people to need to live where we're living as opposed to where they're living. So again, if you don't want people trying to move into your backyard, perhaps you should look at ways that you can help them to have a nicer backyard themselves. And again, this may seem very socialist, but I think if we stop destroying the world, and I think if we stop allowing the dark side to steal from us and keep us under, then I think that we will be in a position to actually serve these people better. And then ultimately, the purpose of this is to build a country and a community and a family that we can be proud of. And I think there's nothing wrong with being proud of your family. I think love of family is very much to love of yourself. And I think that if we start by loving ourselves, if you will, and we extend that energy to fellow human beings who are extensions of ourselves, we will deal with those closest to us first. And naturally, with our own homes. We will work within our own homes. We will work with our own cities. We will reach out. We will try to extend this love as far as we can. But much the same way that we make sure that our home is kept in order and that our family members are healthy before we venture out and try to administer to the rest of the world, I think it also behooves us to keep our own house in order and to make our own country strong and to take care of the people that are here in our country now. And obviously these refugee issues that are completely false, clearly the dark side is in countries causing wars and destruction and devastation, and that is destroying other people's backyards, and that's why they want to move into our backyard. So again, if we stop destroying the other people's backyards and we do what we can to improve the lives of people that are living outside of our borders, then the world will be a much better place for everybody. And I see there's nothing selfish about that. There's nothing hegemonic about that. And there's certainly nothing, it's certainly not jingoistic. And I think if we truly believe that this country is an exceptional place, and we believe that the people that inspired this nation did have a good, righteous inspiration behind them, and again, genocide and criminal activity behind, I'm still going to cling to the belief that the nation that I was born in and the family that I was born to are righteous, and that I am going to work within the confines of what I was given. And I think that to stab my family in the back, or to burn my flag, or to disrespect my institutions which represent me and my family, and not the criminals that have moved into the control structure of this family. I think that when those criminals are long gone, and when we have reassumed our power, and we've worked together, and we realize that all of us are truly the same person, I think that we can use these symbols to our benefit. And I think that's probably one of the most important lessons, if I could leave here today, is that much like the internet, we know that the internet was created to be a tool to be used against us, to be gathering information, and yet it's provided us with an unprecedented ability to communicate with each other and to mobilize our forces and to work against evil. So I think by the same token, the lesson that we need to learn and the lessons that we need to promote are the exact opposite of the ones that are being foisted upon us, such as, if these tools that are being used to segregate, not to segregate, but to divide us, if we are being told that certain symbols are somehow divisive and have negative connotation, then those are the symbols that we need to rally around, and we need to build up, and we need to realize that these have power, and that these are belonging to us, and that our enemies are seeking to deprive their power from us. So that's what it's really all about, is that if you lose respect for your flag, and you lose respect for these emblems and these symbols, then you lose respect for your family. And it's something that you should never allow to be done, just as you should never allow somebody to come into your heart and tell you that there's something wrong with your children, or that your wife's really ugly, how could you marry that woman, or my God, that house that you live in is disgusting, your wife is such a horrible housekeeper, she does such a terrible job, that son of yours, he went and beat up somebody else's kid the other day, he's such a terrible kid. No, you're not going to permit that. You're going to work to make everything stronger, and you're going to work to correct negative things, and you're not going to allow corruption into your household. And the same thing applies to our United States. And if I could finish by pointing out corruption that needs to be removed, it is all pervasive. And the corruption that's becoming so evident and in front of our faces that so many of us now are aware of and are fighting so hard to remove, they know that their days are numbered. the Obamas, the Soros, everybody in Congress practically, all of those corrupt bastards, every one of them. Corrupt Attorney General, hillbilly mafia Clintons, corrupt FBI, corrupt FDA, corrupt Supreme Court, corrupt State Department, Pentagon. I think there's a lot of good people in there, but there's a lot of corruption too. Obviously, the military-industrial complex, totally corrupt. It's greed-based. You can't have a capitalist system in a warfare scenario. You can't have capitalists in police. You can't have capitalism in healthcare. These areas are meant to be serving people, protecting people, not making money. There's no law enforcement is not a growth industry. Healthcare is not a growth industry. Warfare is not a growth industry. It's like cancer. Cancer is something to be removed, not turned into a career. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do. My tea's almost melted. Now, as I mentioned, there isn't a show coming up after me. But next week, though, I am going to have a very special show. As I mentioned, Sophia Stewart is returning. And I don't know if you got to listen to Daryl's show. If you've been listening to the recordings, you've probably heard it. But Sophia Stewart, of course, is the woman that wrote the books that became The Matrix, as well as the Terminator series in the movies. Keanu Reeves and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anyway, needless to say, our culture has embraced this franchise very extensively, and I think a lot of people connect to it, the message, and there is quite a bit of symbolic intention there, and this is, of course, was completely intentional. And I've always had a lot of theories about what happened to the movie, and I had, before I had any idea that it was stolen from her, I had a sense that the number 2 and number 3 were not true to the original, and she certainly explains why that is, and I was, of course, correct. Now, number 4, the book that she has out right now, that we hopefully will be coming a movie very soon, really does tie all this together, and I don't want to say too much, but I'll just say that it turns out that the Terminator and the Matrix are actually the same story. So just imagine Agent Smith as a Terminator. It's pretty much the same thing. But I'm, like I said, I'm going to have her in a week, next Thursday, and Daryl Nichols is going to join me, and he was, of course, the host that had her on originally. So I'm happy to have him join me, and we both read her book, and we're gonna talk about it. But that'll be a lot of fun, and I really certainly hope that you will join me. And if you're hearing it on a recording, then you know, leave a fun comment. And again, I just want to remind everybody, I'm not going to go too much further, but I'm going to remind everybody that this is the Stephen D. Kelly Show. My name is Stephen D. Kelly. It is September 8th, 2016. I only briefly got to talk about 9/11, but I think you guys all know what I have to say about that. And again, ultimately, the only way we're going to solve anything in this world is going to require that we do occupy the Getty, gain access to the elevator, and go down there and root out the corruption that's running the show from a mile or two underground. And then when we are able to do that, we will be able to return the stolen wealth, which is more gold than you could possibly imagine, as well as the technology that has been available since the days of Tesla that is being guarded and kept from us down below. So with those tools and with those acts, we will be able to fix the problems in our country as well as the rest of the world and put us back on the path to the golden age of humanity that we should be on. But that's my endeavor, and that's what I hope that we can accomplish. And I think that ultimately anything that we do here on the surface of the earth is really irrelevant until we take care of those problems that are under our feet. And I think that if we are capable of putting somebody in office that can hopefully help us to get around this, then that would be great. If not, then hopefully you guys will rally around me, and I will hopefully have enough people to lead you guys in the right direction, and we can force the rest of the world to wake up and realize that we are being controlled by the dark side, and that the enemy is very easy to see right in front of us. I have to be honest with you. I'm thinking here that I could so easily just end the show at any time, but I thought, then I would be a bad influence for my other host who was like, 2 hours is kind of rough. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. No, I don't think there's anybody that's going to join me. Now, the one guy I was trying to drag in here, he turned off his Skype, so I'm not going to drag him in here. But I am going to probably end the show a little bit early because this earphone is really starting to bother my ear, squeezing into my head. But again, I want to remind everybody that this show is about the issue involving this idiot football player that disrespects our country by sitting down during the playing of the national anthem. And I think the bottom line, he is wrong. I think that he should be penalized. I think that the very fact that that is allowed to happen says that there is something wrong. However, though, he does have the right to do that, but then we also have the right to ban him from our stadium, and basically we also have the right to let the stadium owners and the team owner know that they need to fire him and eject him from the stadium, because that's what we would prefer. So that's how we express ourselves. He expresses himself like that. That's fine. Now, if he wants to express himself about the injustices and the evils and the things that need to be fixed in society, I recommend that he does that vocally, and he does it outside of the football stadium. And if he doesn't think that is compatible, then he should quit football, and he should get a microphone like this one right here, and he should get himself a radio show and start telling people what he thinks. Because that is not the medium. And if it was a professional franchise and that I was the owner of that professional franchise, unless he was promoting a message that I was inspired by, I would remove him. The same way I would remove a host if a host was to come on this network and start espousing a message that it did not agree with me. And he has the right to have that message, and he would have the right to say what he thought, but I would have the right to choose whether or not I wanted that person to be involved with my endeavor. And that's the same thing that applies to these sporting events. And the very fact that now we have children that are being allowed to disrespect our country in our schools, I think that there is definitely a concerted and organized effort to destroy our institutions from within. And I would like to see that removed. And I can only say that I think that a Donald Trump presidency will probably be a very good step in that direction. And I'm not going to go any further because you might accuse me of being a Nazi, but let's just say that we all know who the enemy and the corrosive elements are. And they're the very same ones that are trying to destroy Europe, and they're the very same ones that are beating the war drums that are trying to force us into World War III. So I think we need to pay attention to those people that are working for peace, and we need to get ready to start executing those that are trying to drive us into a genocide. That may seem harsh, but there are certainly some that are going to be requiring that. And you see me talking about this on the radio or on Facebook all the time. Yeah, I know. Not good, huh? Well, it's just the way it is. I'm sorry, but there are definitely some people out there that are going to need to be removed physically. I just don't think that. We'll see. I'll hold back. Amnesty is a righteous thing, and I'll suggest that we should endeavor to offer amnesty to everybody. Perhaps not the Rothschilds and the Queen of England. I think lizards probably, if we do have entities that are not actually human, then I would not include those in our family. So certainly non-human entities that are corrupting our human family, I think those need to be removed with greatness. Anyway, all right, nobody called in. Okay, chat, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys, chat, okay? I'm looking at you right now. I know this is a minute late, but I want to thank all of you for being here. And I appreciate you putting up with my diatribe. I know it really wasn't that bad, but hey, I'm an American, and I'm here to solve the world's problems, but at the same time, I'm going to love my country, and I'm going to love my flag, and I'm going to love Jesus, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to convince other people that we are the good guys, and serve by example. And that's really all I could do. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go a couple minutes early. It's not too bad, but that just means that it'll shave some time off the video. But anyway, again, I'm going to play a little bit of music, and then I will go back to the recorded content of the shows. But after I get off the air, I like to play a little bit of music, so I hope you guys don't mind. All right? Okay, well, anyway, until next time, all right, everyone? Let's see if I can do this in a nice, smooth way. Anyway, as I like to try to say when I end the show, I want to, well, first, of course, this was Stephen D. Kelly, the Stephen D. Kelly Show, and it is September 8th. It is about 8:42, about 15 minutes early. This is Truth Cat Radio, www.truthcatradio.com. Tonight's show was called My Flag. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you so much. And God bless you all. And good night. Adios.